Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of How to Program in Java. And we're going to be going over a lot of things in this video. It's going to be a long video, so we're going to go over public, private, static, all that stuff. All this random static stuff, the static. We're going to go into it's all that kind of stuff. And sit along for the ride. Hopefully, you learn a thing or two. All right, so first thing, let's go over. Let me put that back. Let's go over what we already have in this program here. And this program doesn't really do anything. It just has some things defined. So what does public mean? Let's think. Public in Java means it's accessible to the entire program. So, we've been talking about class files, and this is what we have right here, a class file. This is what we're working with right here. But in Java, you can have more than one class file. You can have as many class files as you want. And basically, you can think of class files as mini programs. And when it comes to, this tutorial assumes that you don't have any programming knowledge, or experience, and that's okay. Because all you really have to think about of class files and any other, C files and all that and other programming language, think of them as mini programs. You call them together, you put them together, it makes it easier to manage. Just imagine if we had, let's take Minecraft for the Wii U, right? The Minecraft Wii U edition. Just imagine if the whole source code was in one file, it would be completely unreadable. So what you do is you branch it out into other, mini programs basically that do their own thing. That way, when you go back to edit, it's a lot easier to look at everything. And this is a really vital thing if you're gonna be professional in programming. I'm not very good. I don't really know much about programming, but other than the basics. But if you get into professional programming, that's gonna be one of the things they're gonna look at when you want to get employment is, are you going to be able to manage everything in a way to where it's easily readable for the rest of the team. So we're going to be going into that kind of stuff, and it's going to make a lot of sense really quickly. But let's just get into what we already have. And here's the word public. Public means it's accessible to the rest of our program, which isn't just one class file, but many class files. So we can call this class anytime, but what if we don't want a class to be called at all? What if we have some information in the class that we only want accessible in that class? You would put private, but I do not think this would be very usable. So in fact, you can't even do private. So I'm just showing you. That's why, because there's really no point in that. But you can, however, voids, and you can make these private. See? So what does this mean? What did we just do? We just have a private static void main. What did this just do? Well, if we go in another class file and we try to call this void main, you're not going to be able to, because this is private. This is only accessible within this class file. And ideally, here's how we do it. If you want something to be public in your program, you make it public. If you want something to be private, you make it private, because here's the thing about programming. In each class file, you could have different variables that are named the same, and it would be completely fine, right, for different parts of a program. But you would set those as private so that you don't get confused which one, because elsewise you're going to be looking through a bunch of the variables with the same name. But if you set it to private, all you have to do is go in that class file and well, this is for that. But ideally, if you want something to be publicly accessible, for example, what if we have a setting like something like static boolean allow music? Right now, this isn't doing anything, but if we set this to public, this is accessible into the entire program. And if we can do this to where if this is false, then all kinds of mini programs, whatever we set in if statements, we'll get into that. It'll say if allow music is false, then it won't allow music to play. And you can really use this to do a lot of things, and it makes things a lot easier. So you don't have to keep naming allow music in every program. You just name it one time, and you're good. So what if we wanted this to be private? Well, this basically means I can't access this in any other program. This is only accessible in this class file. So one thing you're going to notice when you're, well, we'll get into that. What does static mean? What's static? Um, you see how I'm using static. Static is a way of like using something. I honestly do not understand. I just put in static whenever it tells me to. A good something I do instinctively. I just put static on anything I name in a class. And another thing about scope. Look, remember what we said about scope. Whatever we name underneath this class, if it's not in a void, we can name these as public or private, and these can be accessible. So you can't just go in here and just say public int I equals 3. No, you can't do that, because this has to be out here. Now you can name variables within your void. For example, I'm going to do the same thing. Actually, let's give it a new name. You can do that, but it's only accessible within that void. So remember, about scope is a big thing. So right here, this int I is publicly accessible to our entire program. So yeah, but static. It's basically a way of accessing something. Basically, all I need to know is if it tells you need to put something in static, put it as static, and a good rule of thumb is just put static anyway. That's how I do it, because I'm not very good at this kind of thing. I'm sure static is not good for certain things, but for the most part, for me, I just do it. All right, so we just figured out what public, private, static means. And you can do some research online about other types or other, declarations. I think there's abstract and enum or whatever. I don't know anything about those. I'm not very into this. I'm not very intelligent with this, but basically, all you need to know: public, private, and yeah. So, I just described to you what we're talking about. But let's actually put this into actual, let's get to the bread and butter here. So we have one class file. Let's make a new class file. All we have to do is do the same thing we did to create in it. And you can't not name a class file with the same name. So we're going to have to call it something else. So I'm going to call this yard. And we're just going to make a little simple program here with everything we've learned so far. There's going to be a couple things that you don't know, but this is public class yard. So I'm going to show you something. We have, let's create a public string greeting equals hello. Just bear with me. So we have a public string called greeting, and we're in our public class yard. This is all under the same package. Yeah, so this is all under the same program, these two class files. I'm going to go and create a void. I'm just going to call it access. It doesn't really matter right now. We're just going to do this, and we'll get into void soon. So we have access. So we want to call greeting. Pretty simple. Well, actually, first I'm going to show you something, and this is going to be pretty interesting. There's something called extends. There's two ways to access a class. Extends allows you to access another class, and whatever classes access that class, you can also access that information. So if I write extends init, I'm going to be able to access everything in init, and if I press dot here, as you can see, I have b boolean, which is public. Give me a second. This should be a. I'm sorry. Again, it's the way you have to access things. So public static string. And if I go right here, it should say, yep, greeting. All right, so you see, now you're seeing what we're doing right now. Now you're seeing what I was talking about. I know I was going on and on, technical, I know. Sometimes get like that, but here we go. I just put greeting in here. Of course, this isn't going to do anything. So I'm going to have to do a system.out, that print line. And I can call greeting, just like that. And we're not going to understand this right now, but I cannot call yard in here. I can't call yard. How do I call yard? How do I get to yard? Well, I could do extends in init. I could, but there's another way to do it. You could do yard and then give it a name. I'm going to call it yard in lowercase equals new yard. And now when I do yard, I can do yard dot access, if I can find it, right here. And that's how you access data within a class. So let's break this down. What is yard, yard, new yard? When we're calling our class here, you notice how we call it yard? We can, basically this is that part, that blue thing, that's yard. And I think this is an object that we're creating. That way we can do yard.access. I'm not quite sure. I just know it works. So you can name yard whatever you want. So I'm basically this is the class name. This is also the class name, and then this is the name of your variable or whatever. So I can call it that, but I'm going to call it yard in lowercase. So what is this program going to do? And I know you don't know what voids are yet, but what is this program going to do? Well, it's going to go into, it's accessing yard. It's going to open the void we made called access. Inside access, it's going to go and print out what we have right here, which is greeting. Let me open that back up. So if I run that, we have hello. And I can change this to whatever I want. So as you can see here, I'm just going to type a bunch of random junk. I'm going to run that. And as you can see, look. And this is basically how you access classes. Those are the two ways of doing it. You could use extends, and I'm just letting you know. I'm going to show you right now if I do this right. All right, so it's either going to be embarrassment because I don't quite remember. I don't really know what I'm doing when I program, but I'm just going to call dud because we're going to delete this once we're done. And I believe that if we include dud, also don't ever call stuff like this. It's just silly. Dud. That's just silly. All right. Give me a moment to figure this out. If I do dud equals new dud. That's so dumb of a name. All right, and then I should be able to make something in here. Public string dud equals nothing. Just don't ever call stuff like this, please. All right, so I should be able to go in yard because this extends in it, and I should be able to press dot, and I should be able to. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. There. Now I should be able to. No? Sure. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. I knew this was going to be embarrassing. I forgot to declare this as a static. This is why I tell you I just usually declare everything as static. Because for some reason, I just magically access everything in a static way. I don't even know what that means. Alright, dot. And there's dud. You see? And you're going to find this interesting. Where in yard does it say dud? Does it say dud anywhere? No. We're extending init, init extends dud, and we're pulling whatever's from dud into here as well. So we can access dud. So I can do dud right here. And dud doesn't equal anything, so I'm going to make dud. And this is another thing. You can actually access your variables in other classes and change what they are. So I'm going to make dud Joey. I don't know why. Just, you know. And I'm going to system out. I'm going to system out dud. That's the dumbest name for a variable. I'm sorry. And it's going to say Joey right here. So what do we just do? We actually, dud doesn't actually say Joey, but we changed dud to say Joey. And that's another thing you can do. So I hope you are paying good attention. I'm going to get this thing out of here. Yes, please get this out of here. Oh man. I'm sorry. You have to save before you delete, apparently. Let's get rid of this guy. Yes, goodbye. Goodbye. Alright, so we got rid of dud. And now we're having problems because we don't have dud anymore, so we're just going to delete anything. This is dud. That's such a dumb variable name. Alright, so next thing. So far we've learned what public, static, and private means. We've learned how to create classes, how to access classes within your program. I think we've just gone through it all. Let me think. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this video. I know I didn't really make any program, but I kind of did, I guess. It didn't really do anything, but yeah, you just got the idea of how to, access everything, and I hope it was good enough. But anyway, thank you for watching this video, and goodbye.